Each day, I wake up and follow my normal routine for getting ready. Just like everyone else. I get out of bed, go eat some breakfast, brush my teeth, shave if I need to, get dressed and fix my hair. Though sometimes I forget to do things. Grab my watch, bring some extra cash for a movie, and other small things. Sometimes important things. Probably more often than the average person. I've talked to doctors about it, and some have tried prescribing medication to help, but I either got used to them and continued forgetting things, or they had some nasty side effects, like having to go to the bathroom all the time. One doctor suggested that instead of trying to use medicine to help combat my forgetfulness, that I just write myself notes. Obviously, I had tried something similar. I made myself lists for in the morning, but I kept forgetting things that I needed to do as I write them down the night before. Their response was to try using sticky notes, as I remember things I need to do and place them in places like the bathroom, where I spend a large portion of my routine, instead of just on a piece of paper. A fresh perspective is sometimes all you need. I tried this method for months. I felt less stress when it came to life in general. I was getting my work done on time and with better results. My boss, Cheryl, even told me she liked the improvement in my work ethic and was glad to see me doing better. She even discussed the possibility of me getting a promotion if I kept up the good work. My friends also talked about how good I was doing with remembering things. Tristan, my best friend of 17 years, was especially proud I remembered we were all meeting up to hang out that day. Anna thanked me after I complimented her hair, saying that I remembered she told me she was planning to go out and get it done, as it was her celebrating 30 days of being sober. My brother, Jason, was especially glad to see me remember things after watching me struggle to remember things for years on end. Of course, I don't always have moments where I look at a note and go, "Oh yeah, I needed to do this." Sometimes it's just, "Oh, I didn't realize I needed to do this, but I wrote the note to myself, so it must be important." Some of these moments consisted of, "Don't forget to ask Cheryl about giving you extra time for writing up that report. Drop by that party tonight at Tristan's place at 10 p.m. Don't forget the beer you promised to bring." And, "Talk to Jess about how her fiancé is doing. She's going to get remarried." Which all seemed like things that could have happened. Like I said, my memory isn't the best. All of them seemed a bit off though. I just couldn't place why it felt off. I thought nothing of it and went through with them all. When I talked to Cheryl about extending the time for my report that was due, she gave me a look and said, "Are you joking?" I was pretty confused, and it must have shown because she followed with, "I know your memory isn't that great, but I assigned that report a week ago, and it was simply copying the information into your report, and you want me to extend the time you need to work on it, so you come to me the day it's due?" I was thoroughly confused by this point. I didn't even remember seeing a note to write my report. "Cheryl, please listen to me. I wrote myself a note asking to extend the report date. I don't even remember being told to write the report. I swore I wrote a note to do so now that I think about it, but I didn't see it." I was hoping Cheryl would have mercy on me and forgive me for this little mistake. "I promise I can have it to you tomorrow." "Tomorrow? You want to turn this report in tomorrow?" "Nathan, this report was due today for a reason. I was told by my boss to assign one of the employees that report and have them turn it into him by tonight. When you came in, I was going to pull you aside for a moment to give you his email to send it to him. I was going to have someone higher up do it, but I trusted that you had the capability to do so. I can clearly see now that this was a mistake." Cheryl took a breath and went for the mug on her desk. I could see the stress on her face. "I'm so sorry. I can do it now if you'd like. I can work all night if I have to." "No, that won't be necessary. I'll deal with the consequences of assigning a report to someone who clearly had no business doing it. Get out of my office." I just nodded my head and made my way out the door, ready to continue on with the day, knowing my promotion wasn't going to happen anytime soon after this blunder. one more thing, Nathan." I looked back to her and asked, "Yes, Cheryl?" "You're fired." I left the office and packed up my stuff and left. I sat in my car for a bit, beating myself up and wondering where that note went. I had no idea what happened to my note telling me to write the report. Not until I saw it in the trash once I got home, tore up into little pieces. Later that night, I tried putting the fact that I just lost my job out of my head, hyping myself up for Tristan's party. We hadn't done anything like this since our time in college, and I was excited to feel young again. I stopped by the liquor store and picked up a case of beer. Something cheap, but still a decent taste. Just like Tristan and I's college days. After I picked up the beer, I pulled up to his house. In his driveway were a few cars. Some people had already arrived, but I knew he wouldn't care. I was the one bringing the beer after all. I glanced over Anna's car and thought she was cool with us drinking and would have something else instead. I was proud of her for sticking to her AA meetings and becoming sober. I knocked on Tristan's door, and instead of having his party face on, he had a somber face and a sad smile as he saw me. "Thanks for coming. I know it's been hard for all of us, especially Anna. I'm glad she asked for help though. Everyone else is here. I guess you got busy with work. Sorry, but we already started talking without you. She thought it was too important to wait. She said she'd been slipping and getting the urge to drink." His voice trailed as he looked down in my hand at the case of beer. He was silent for a moment, then said, "Is this some kind of joke to you?" I stammered out a response. No, I thought you were throwing a party. That's what my note was. You said to bring beer?" "A party? Our friend is struggling with alcohol, so you thought I would throw a party and ask you to bring beer? That's disgusting. Jesus, Leave the beer in the car. We'll talk more about this after we help Anna." I could tell Tristan was furious. I felt horrible. I didn't even want to think about Anna's problem. After the meeting, which lasted about half an hour, apparently, Anna had nearly broke her 30 days of being sober. She said she got blackout drunk the other night. "I just felt so stressed and needed something to help cope," as she put it. We told Anna we'd be there for her and would continue to support her, but she had to be the one to put the bottle down, as friends are supposed to do. Once everyone left, Tristan closed the door and looked at me. "So, what you're telling me is that you somehow misconstrued Anna needs help tonight. Can you be here around 8 p.m? It has to do with her drinking. And to top it off, you showed up 2 hours late. Nathan, you better have been working on something pretty important because Anna needed us. You're like a brother to her, and to not have you there for 2 hours, wanting to know that you would be there made her heart break. She waited an hour for you, but we told her she needed to start this meeting now." I just stared, realizing how badly I screwed up. "Are you going to stand there with a blank look on your face, or are you going to explain yourself?" "I swear my note said," I started, but Tristan wasn't having any of it. "Oh, here we go again. My note said. I never once said anything about a party or bringing alcohol. Do you realize that Anna saw you with that beer? After the meeting and you stood in the kitchen waiting for me, she confronted me about it. I have never seen her in such pain. You really messed up tonight." Tristan was pacing the floor. If looks could kill, I would have been dead on the floor. "Nathan, I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I hit you. And write a note yourself reminding to apologize to Anna. And don't screw this one up." "Tristan, please, listen to me. I didn't mean to hurt Anna. I promise," I pleaded. Tristan just pointed at the door, no words being spoken. the silent fury of my best friend, who probably now hated me. I left his home and closed the door, knowing I'd probably not talk to him again for a while. After I got home, I pulled out my phone, ready to call Anna and apologize. I saw the time though, and decided against it. It was late, and she was probably tired. Instead, I wrote a note to myself. Call Anna and apologize for last night. As I walked around, I saw another torn up note. This one telling me about going to Tristan's house to help Anna. 2 notes, both destroyed. Who could have been doing this? It didn't matter at the moment. I had to see Jess, my ex-wife, tomorrow. The next day, after I woke up and followed my morning routine, I started getting dressed for work, but then realized I'd been fired. I then thought about texting Tristan to see if he wanted to help me go job hunting, but remembered we had a big argument. I couldn't remember what it was exactly, but I knew I screwed up horribly. After I decided that I should browse online for a new job, I saw the note I left for myself, reminding me of my meeting with Jess. I texted her a quick message asking if she still wanted to meet up today and asking if she had any place in mind. Her reply came a few minutes after I continued browsing possible jobs. She said meeting at the cafe in town seemed like a good idea. It sounded good to me, getting some coffee, a little bit of food, and talking with her. Jess and I rarely got to talk. She got busy after our divorce, doing amazing things with her life, while I struggled to remember basic things. Jess used to help me remember everything, but I guess that's one of the reasons we got divorced. I may not remember a lot, but I remember how she felt. She said, "I don't even feel like we're married. I feel like I'm just your living calendar. I get up and you always ask me what you have to do that day. Nathan, I can't live like this." Jess then went away for a week while I tried to remember everything on my own. I don't blame her for disappearing. She wanted me to do better, and I couldn't. Anyone in her shoes would have left. Shortly after that week, we started the process to get divorced. That was 5 years ago. We stayed in contact, still trying to be friends. We don't talk as much as I would like to, but as always, Jess is busy. It always amazed me how she could keep up with so much. I was doing somewhat better with my memory now than I was then. After she texted me the location, I grabbed my keys, phone and wallet, headed out the door to meet up with her. I wanted to make sure I was on time. I knew that part of how I screwed up last night was that I was late. If I was early, Jess couldn't be mad at me for being late. Once I got to the cafe, I saw that Jess wasn't there. No problem, I thought. I'll just wait and look at jobs until she gets here. I ended up waiting about an hour, with no luck in finding any jobs. "Hey Nathan, I'm glad you're here already. Memory getting better?" is how Jess greeted me after she walked into the cafe. I got up and hugged her, per the norm of our previous meetings. I felt her arms wrap around me, and she felt so warm. Her hugs always felt like that. I knew that her hugs were usually quick, but as I went to pull away, she pulled me in tighter. I let it happen, and let go when she was ready. "I've been trying to work on it. I'm now leaving sticky notes everywhere in my house. Things seem to be doing better though. How are you?" I asked her, hoping that she would say she was doing good too. I couldn't remember why, but I think our last conversation, she was sad. "Oh, I'm trying my best. Things have been hard, with what happened with the price and all. Getting through the day though." I had no idea what happened to Price. I knew he was just very sick. "How is Price doing? I know he was sick. Guessing things got worse?" It should be no surprise that this was not a good response. These notes I had left for myself continually screwed me over. "How?" was all Jess said. I was confused and asked what she meant. Her response was, "How? How could you forget that Price died a month ago? I told you in person. I can't believe this. You're an absolute ass, Nathan. An absolute ass." Jess grabbed her stuff and just left me in the cafe. I didn't even try to apologize. There was no way I could apologize for something as severe as that. All I could think was, I am a horrible person. I left the cafe quietly and returned to my house, knowing there was no way in hell Jess would ever talk to me again. After I got home, I looked for more notes on what to do today, along with a possible note that may have been destroyed. This incident sparked me remembering that there were notes that had been torn up. I found 2 notes that I thought were important. One said, "Call Anna today. Thank her for coming to Tristan's party, even though there was drinking, and tell her you're proud for not drinking during the party." And one that was torn up. "Meet up with Jess today. She said she needed to talk about Price's death." This was when I realized something was wrong. I knew for a fact at this point that I did not write that note to call Anna and thank her. I wrote one to apologize because I thought there was a party and she saw the beer in my hand. The night was somewhat hazy, but the important parts were clear enough. I tore the note telling me to call Anna into pieces and then texted her, saying I wanted to meet up to talk to apologize in person. She didn't respond right away. I could understand why. From what it seemed like to her, I was just tempting her. I decided to let her be and decide if she felt I was worth her time responding to. After I set my phone down, I knew my chances of her saying something was pretty slim. I got on with my day though. I continued checking around the house for notes. Not my daily ones reminding me to do basic tasks. I saw the one to look at some jobs, some more, and one that said, "Pick up your gun that you bought in case of an intruder." I couldn't remember going out to buy a gun, but with my memory that was seemingly getting worse suddenly, and it being probably months ago at that point, but apparently it was time to go get a gun. Break-ins had apparently been on the rise in the past year. Tristan recommended I get a gun in case of an intruder. I didn't think anything would happen to me, but better safe than sorry. The drive there was unpleasant. I couldn't get all the mistakes I made out of my head. I basically screwed over my life in a matter of 2 days, all because of a couple of notes I had made for myself. Once I picked up the gun, with the normal pleasantries that come with receiving one, I drove home. At least on the drive back, I didn't think of how much I screwed up. Instead, I thought about the notes. The ones that had been thrown away and torn up, then replaced with notes. Where did they come from? Did I really write them? If so, why would I want to destroy my life? I don't hate myself. I'm not my biggest fan, but I don't want to ruin everything good in my life, is what I thought. A number of scenarios ran through my head, all of them terrifying. I ended up getting myself very worked up. As soon as I got pulled into my driveway, I grabbed my gun and the ammo I bought with it, rushed inside, locked my door, and went around to check that every door in the house was locked. I checked each individual lock to make sure they weren't tampered with. There were no clear signs of a break-in. How would I be able to tell if someone was able to pick the lock though? They could have closed and locked the door, so I was none the wiser. I removed the gun from its case, inspecting it some, and loaded it. I then stuck it under my pillow. Whole sleep with a gun routine. Being scared, I grabbed my phone and decided to call Tristan to inform of everything that happened. As I went to grab my phone, it started ringing. Lo and behold, it was Tristan. I didn't know why he was calling, but I was glad that he was because I wanted someone else to know what was going on. Hello, Tristan? Are you there? Is how I started off the conversation, ready to rush into what I needed to say. Yeah. His voice was quiet. The sadness in his voice was clearly evident, and it seemed like he had been crying. I'm here. Listen, we need to talk. You are so right, we do. I'm freaking out, Tristan. My notes have been torn up and replaced. I don't know who's been doing it, and... I spoke a mile a minute, fearing something may happen if I didn't tell him soon. Whoa, slow down, Nathan. What? Listen, we can get to that in a minute. I think what I have to say takes precedence. Okay, I'm listening. I'm sure he could hear the anxiousness in my voice. So, Anna, she, Jesus, how do I say this? Tristan seemed concerned and on the verge of tears again. Anna died last night, Nathan. She apparently drank herself to death. She just kept drinking and drinking. Police said there were bottles everywhere. I felt my mouth go dry. Anna was dead, and the last thing I heard from her was at a meeting where she needed help with a problem. What did I do? Show up with the very thing that was causing her to head on a downward spiral. I couldn't help but feel responsible for her death. Tristan continued. I know you might need a minute. Call me back when you process things more. It's a lot to take in. Goodbye, Nathan. You're still my friend. Then there was the click of a phone and just silence. I set my phone down, pushing every paranoia out of my head. I put my hands in my face and just cried until I couldn't cry anymore. After I regained my composure somewhat, I grabbed my phone and opened up my contacts list. There was nothing there. I checked my call logs and saw they were deleted. I couldn't remember Tristan's number. That's why it was in my contacts. I tried recalling it, but all that came up was blanks. I went to check on any online messaging apps I may have. I found that I had none. They were all deleted off my phone, along with any social media platforms I was on. I had no way of contacting anyone. I couldn't remember any of their numbers. The only number I could remember was 911. And what was I supposed to tell them? My phone is mysteriously wiped off all my data after I got told a friend of mine died. I also can't remember what has been happening to my notes to remind me of what to do, and have figured out that they're being replaced with ways to ruin my life. They would think it was some sick joke. I threw my phone across the room in frustration. I watched it break against the wall. Immediately, regret washed over me. There was still a chance I could have remembered someone's phone number and called for help. Too late for that now, though. Not wanting to deal with anything I just experienced, I crawled into my room and into my bed. I couldn't sleep. I didn't expect to. I was just hoping for some comfort, but none came. Eventually, I passed out, sleeping for only a few hours, but I didn't wake up in my bed. I woke up on the couch. My gun was in my hand. I chalked it up to sleepwalking. That's what it was. I'm under a lot of stress. It's just sleepwalking and my paranoia. It became a mantra. Just sleepwalking and paranoia. Just sleepwalking and paranoia. The mantra stopped working after I read a new note, though. Don't forget to kill yourself. I read it over at least 5 times, wanting to make sure I read it properly. Every time it was the same words. I tore up the note, not wanting to look at it anymore. Especially with Anna's passing, it was too much. I would have done the same thing if I wasn't paranoid. Anyone in the right state of mind would have. After I tore it up, I picked up the pieces and stuck them in one hand, gun in the other hand. I threw the pieces away, and saw another note over the trash can. Don't forget to kill yourself. I tore this one up too, getting more worried. This made me wonder how many of these notes there actually were. I went around the house and all of my normal notes were replaced. Don't forget your watch to kill yourself was right on my bathroom mirror. This made me scream and rush into my room. I locked my door and laid my gun down on my bed. I cried for a good few hours, afraid to leave my room, afraid to try and get help. I had done this to myself, or more accurately, I had done this to myself. I still hadn't figured out what was going on. As of my writing this, 2 days have passed since I've locked myself in my room, too afraid to leave. I'm scared. More scared than I've ever been in my life. And I'm so tired. But I can't sleep. I'm too afraid. I know I'm going to pass out soon though. Frankly, I hope I don't wake up, so I can end this nightmare. To say the thought to use that gun hasn't crossed my mind is a lie. Maybe after I wake up after passing out, I'll consider it more seriously, or have the energy to actually do it. Or maybe I'm in hell, and this is my punishment for whatever I did. If this is hell, killing myself won't do much, if anything, very likely. But if this isn't hell, and it's all real, it may just be the way out. I'll sleep on it. Not like I have any choice. I can barely write anymore. Don't forget to kill yourself, Nathan.